All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the coin and welcome back to That's Life podcast. Yes, we're back. We might be a little bit delayed. It's not straight after the match, 24 hours after the match. It's a day, I think, 48 hours after the
Hey,
match.
that's life. That's life, man.
That's life, man. That's life.
Honestly,
Sometimes that's what's gonna happen. I do realize we didn't get to do this straight after the Servette loss, but I'm glad we probably didn't because, yeah, the mood wasn't the greatest. But here we are. Here we are. We're going to talk about a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about tactically what took place against Crystal Palace, and I also want to talk to Ryan about what do we make of Chelsea? What have we learned about Chelsea in this first international break up until now? Where are we? What's going on? So we're going to touch base on that, and I'm sure we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. That Ryan, first of all, how you doing, my man?
miss, I'm doing good, bro. Missed you this past week and a
Me
half
too,
without
bro. Me
coming
too.
on, bro. So much happened. Transfer window came shut, two matches. But yeah,
Mm,
good to be back here. I have a lot to talk about. Tactically, transfer window, the vision of Chelsea, a
yes.
lot to talk about. But other than that, bro, just super happy to be here talking to my friend, you, and everybody else here in the comments. And just so grateful that we get to do this podcast every week, bro.
100%, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like to the live chat. By the way, once again, we always have to reiterate: this isn't live. This is a
Yeah.
pre-recording. You're just gonna be seeing it premiere because I see everyone in the live. Is this live? Is this? So it's not. But I want to say one thing. I love having these conversations with Ryan, and I'm pretty sure you guys in the live chat enjoy it as well. And yeah, this it just as Ryan said, two friends coming together talking about footy. Like, what more do you want? That is,
Yeah,
I
bro.
call it a blissful life.
Yeah.
Ryan, let's get cracking into this.
Okay, bro.
First of all, I didn't get to talk to you straight after the Crystal Palace game. I'm not sure whether you saw my review. I was a little bit shocked. Like I was so gassed and so happy about that first half because although the scoreline didn't show that, but I was telling everyone in the live stream that I'm so impressed by that first half because it was total control for me. Crystal Palace didn't have a sniff of an opportunity the entire half. Didn't even get inside the box. I don't even think. And we boss them everywhere, whether it's in defense, whether it's in midfield, whether it's in attack. The shame was that the scoreline didn't reflect that, even though we had chances to have at least 2-3 nil up at halftime. But Ryan, what really, really shocked me was the second half, how it was the total opposite. And by the end of the match, I was like, Crystal Palace could probably sneak a win here. And that's what annoyed me. Obviously, we could have snuck a win as well in the second half, but I was just so disappointed that our game is only good for 45 minutes. And I understand it's early days, but there was a sense of frustration. Ryan, what was your feeling after that match?
Oof. My feeling, man, is that tactically, I saw some things there that I could see definitely we had a game plan, how we
Yeah.
wanted to set up tactically. I just think that it's one thing to have the structure, it's the next thing to deliver within that structure.
Yeah.
And I
Execute,
think,
basically.
yeah, and I think that we executed the best we executed out of 10 in our best moments with probably a 7 out of 10. I
Mm-hmm.
think like I saw a lot of things I liked with certain players' movements, but I just think the execution with what we could do in that structure, with the type of passes we want to play, the type of
Mm.
link up play, the type of um final third, like crosses and like that kind of killer instinct. Those
Yes.
things I just feel like it wasn't there throughout the
Yep.
whole match. Even though some people said the first half was very good, I just think it was decent.
Sure.
I think there's just so much levels to this. I mean, you could build the bricks up, but we have to paint this house. We need to put up windows. We need to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have been watching a lot of football recently, a lot of different teams analyzing, and for example, it's kind of taken me Um, it's make me like I watch Barcelona on the flick
I was just
a
gonna
lot.
say you're gonna bring Barcelona in the
Yeah,
conversation.
and it's like he's working with players. Let's forget Rafinha and forget
Mm,
Lewandowski and that front three there. But he's working with a lot of young players who's under
yeah,
21 coming from the academy, and the types of passes and the ruthlessness in their passes. Like when space breaks out, within that first second, somebody makes a run, or that first second the space opens, they like penetrate that space with passes,
yeah.
with long passes, with this and that. And I think that comes from instruction from the coach. You know, the coach needs to instill that confidence within
Mm,
players that, okay, yes, the coach is going to give you that structure, but the coach also has to give you that confidence to what to do in that structure, how
mm,
ruthless to be in that structure. And I
yeah.
think that with Maresca so far before international break, I've seen a lot of good structure. I've just seen we've been working at a 6 or 7 out of 10 in that structure. And we have so much to do to get to that 9 or 10 out of 10.
No, it's well said. Look, and this is why I've been saying it even post match, even though I was sort of frustrated and annoyed by the 3 points was there against Crystal Palace, and it would have meant so much to us moving into the international break. But I've said we have to be patient. Unfortunately, we have to be patient, and as you said, at the moment we're operating at 6 or 7 out of 10 under this structure, and we have to stay patient to hopefully get it to us closer to the eights and the nines and the 9.5s, and hopefully one day a absolute 10. So,
Yeah,
but Ryan, the Premier League is so ruthless, man. The Premier League is so ruthless, Ryan. Like the games come thick and fast, and the results, if they're not there, you're gonna drift away. I mean, this season, Ryan, there's just Brighton. I know it's early days, but they look like they're good, man. They've always looked good, but this time they've invested close to 200 mil. They're one of the heaviest investors this season. They've brought in a hell of a lot of players. Aston Villa probably will carry on as well. Um, Spurs, we'll see what happens. That first like top three, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, they're probably locked on. But after that is a massive, massive scramble, and we don't
I
want
think
this season to be a nothing season. You know what I mean?
I think it goes to show that what the amount of money we spent or the investment we've made, we still did not get that striker,
Mm,
mid a next midfielder, and
yeah,
us and somebody to replace Thiago Silva
yeah,
and a goalkeeper. So how could we go a whole transfer season with all
it's
these stars that we bought
it's
and we
mad.
still a spine of a team has 4 positions and we managed to go a transfer window without getting any of those
Any.
4 positions in the spine. Like normally you'd get one if it's a bad season, you'd get one out of the four. And
This is why
but
I
then we
was
got
like,
0 out of 4.
that Osimhen transfer on the deadline day was so disappointing that it didn't happen. I was convinced that okay, at least
Yeah,
we can have one block out of that spine set in
yeah.
stone. It might
Especially with
not be
Tony
the
going. Especially with
exactly,
Tony going, he said it's completely it's over. We're gonna get him.
exactly, and okay, a lot of people will say, well, Miz, that wasn't the most important one. We needed maybe a defender, a goalkeeper. I know that, but at least we can say, okay, one part of our spine where it's there. But as you said, all that money spent, and this is why I always revert back to the point that I know, Ryan, you like Joao Felix. I like Joao Felix as well. I know a lot of people like Jadon Sancho. I like Jadon Sancho, and I'm like, but that wasn't it wasn't necessary. Like there
Yeah.
were other parts that needed to be filled. But anyway, look, we're going to keep all of this conversation for the second half of this podcast, where we're going to talk about where is Chelsea really at the moment, at the break, international break, for whatever matches we've played so far. We'll
Yeah.
assess that. We're going to talk about. Let me bring up the board. I want to ask you a specific question. We don't need to go to the nitty gritty details of the entire game, but I specifically want to ask you, Ryan. I felt first half were a lot more organized. We were winning battles, getting into tackles. I don't think Crystal Palace really did anything substantial in the first half, whereas in the second half, it became more of a basketball game, something that we were so used to last season. and parts of this season already started to see, basketball sort of nature back and forth, end to end. What happened, Ryan, from that first half to that second half?
Okay, so I'll tell you exactly, right, what happened.
Mm.
So I watched back the game earlier today when you told me you want me to do analysis, right? I was like, damn, shit, I'm to watch this shit over again, right?
Boss has spoken. I got to watch the match
Yeah,
again.
this is like, bro, I need you to bring out board tomorrow. If you don't, you're fired, right? I was like, all right, cool.
If
35K
you don't, that
subscribers.
life is over.
Yeah, and 35K subscribers. I need this job, right? Um, so, um,
Got to feed the family,
so
bro.
yeah, so I watched back the game and I saw some interesting things, and I'm really glad I
Mm.
watched it back so I can show you guys, right?
Nice, nice.
So Palace, they defended enough. Well, they had a 3-4-3. They defended enough with a back five, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we know how that works. I think the most interesting thing that I saw this game was the implementation of Caicedo between the centre backs.
Yes,
That
yes,
was classical Regista, and as I was telling you about 2 months ago on the podcast when I did that Maresca kind of
yes,
analysis. I was
yes.
like, what we're really going to see to make his system work is how
Mm,
he maneuvers that DM between his centre backs to create passing angles and to get us progressing better
mm.
forward, right? So, interestingly enough, they made it really obvious. And sometimes a defender might just slide in here a little bit and make that
Yes,
angle.
yes,
This time it
yes.
was not like that. Saw Caicedo come straight to the middle here.
A lot of people
Like,
were saying, is Caicedo playing CB in my life? I'm like, he's not playing
yeah,
CB. He's just the deepest midfielder.
yeah.
In fact, at times he was actually even deeper than the CB. The CBs were a little bit further ahead of him.
Yeah, yeah, he was basically like a central CB today,
Yeah,
right? I mean yesterday, today for me because I watched it
yeah.
today. Um, yeah. So one thing, what we always know about wing backs, and a lot of people who play a back five, their wing backs really have a man marking role, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
usually wing backs will try to protect their wide center back, and they would man mark the widest player,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And if you want to dismantle a back five, the best way to dismantle it is to get the wing backs out of the game by your tactics, your
Yeah,
organization, right? And
yeah.
I think we did this really good, where um, we kind of overloaded this wing back here by having inverted runs from
Mm.
Gusto,
Malagusto. Yeah,
and
yeah.
we saw kind of Madueke coming in as the wide most player, and we
Yes.
saw a lot of darting runs in the pockets here, kind of getting like a 2v1 versus that wing back.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
constantly during the game now, we would see these two players double teaming against this one wing back here. And I
Mm,
think that
mm.
was one of the main purposes there. And
Yes.
interesting enough, what I think made this setup really interesting was the positioning of Enzo. So a
Yeah.
lot of the times now, we'd see Enzo actually kind of get advanced also, right?
Hmm, hmm.
So we saw a really good rotation amongst Cole Palmer and Enzo
And this is
around
why
these
Cole Palmer was
areas.
dropping deep at times, very
Yeah,
deep.
and the good rotation kind of gave this wide center back something to think of,
Yeah,
right? Because if
yeah.
this wide center back dropped too deep, we would get those drop
Space
too
in
forward,
behind.
sorry.
Yeah,
We would get that space in behind for
yeah,
Jackson's really good at running behind. We could
yeah,
see even Enzo probably try something, Cole Palmer. So we always give them something to think about, right? So we
yeah.
hardly saw Enzo here or here or here. We actually saw him a lot alongside Cole Palmer around those areas, right?
Hmm, hmm.
What that resulted in, however, was a really good, as I said, rotation between Enzo and Cole Palmer to become that deepest person. But we
Hmm,
also saw our ability to get the ball into these pockets here and really good link up play in behind. Um,
hmm.
One thing I really, really like about Gusto is in the pockets. You know how Chilwell used to be like making those dart and runs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Inside as an inverted wing back. I think the difference between Gusto is his first touch in the pockets, how amazing his first touch is on the turn, and how good he is to let go that ball wide or to Jackson or to
yeah.
Uncle Palmer on his first touch. Like that is something that is very rare to see in a fullback, and it's very
Mm.
rare to see in a person in the pockets. Period. That is something I'm really impressed with, and
He
that's why
he
we
looks very comfortable when he's in that
very
area where you're just like inverting and
yeah
darting. And I that was a bit of a surprise for me at the start of this season
yeah
that he looked so comfortable.
yeah, and that's why so much times you saw him like we would get like for example here we'd get quick pass here, boom, and then we'd
Yeah.
set off Maweke, or it could be the opposite now where
Yeah,
Maweke
and
would get the ball.
there was a chance where Malagusta did do exactly what you just said.
Yeah,
He got into those areas. The issue in those areas is
final
Malagusta gets
product.
in that final product. Exactly.
Now the final product here, it was awful because I think early on in a game, um, teams takes a good 20 to 25 minutes to really figure out what you're doing tactically, right?
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
your tactics begin to work and you get one or two chances, you have to kill
You
because
have to.
it would
Yeah,
after that 20 to 25-minute mark, the team's gonna start to adapt. They're not gonna get those same chances,
correct.
and you will start to lose confidence, lose organization, and you see Chelsea do that many times, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Miss, I want to say something, and I kind of gonna go into why we start to see as the game go on, not only in the second half, but later on in the first half, we started
mm,
to go down. I would think that there's two major things, right? I'll go into
yeah,
the first small major thing and then the big major thing, right? First small major thing is that we have, I think Augusto is such an important player in this kind of tactic, wide overload tactic here, right?
yeah,
And I think that Chelsea do not have the same confidence in their left-sided players to do that same thing. I'm not talking about Neto, I'm talking about Kukurea.
yeah.
Because Kukurea, he could try to make those runs inverted. He could try to overlap, but he just would not. Like when he goes inverted and collects the ball, his first touch wouldn't be good. He would lose the ball. Or
Mm,
he would not be effective to actually link play in those inverted areas here. So
mm, mm,
whilst
mm.
he would make those runs, it would come to nothing because nobody would pass them. If he gets past the ball, he would lose it. This and that, right?
Yeah.
So I think a huge thing in creating wide overloads like this, Miss, is to be able to implement the switch of play. And I think that with the players we have, we should have done that switch of play, but anytime the ball gets to here, it ends up to nothing. Because
Mm,
Kukurea would get it. And I think a lot of people say Kukurea is an amazing ball player, which he's
yeah.
probably very comfortable on the ball, but I don't think he impacts the game near enough to be a ball playing centre back or ball playing fullback. He
I
does
think
not.
I think the biggest difference, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you compare Cucurella and Malagusa, Malagusa has that, as you said, he's got that ability to receive the ball, turn and run, almost like a natural midfielder, which is so
Yeah,
strange. I never thought Malagusa would be able to do that, but he has that ability to do that. Whereas Cucurella, who is good on the ball, technically very sound, but he doesn't really have that ability to get the ball, turn, drive.
yeah. No, but even that, like, say we know that about Kukurea, and
Hmm.
say you need to switch your tactics a little bit up on the left side. I
Yeah.
think Kukurea, from a passing point of view, still isn't getting those passes in behind that we would want. If you
Right.
can't
Right.
dribble to what you need to dribble, or play with your back towards marker in the pockets
Hmm.
as a fullback, at least impact the game with your line breaking passes or
Right.
in
Right.
behind. The thing is, when it gets to Kukurea here, he starts thinking a lot. He takes a lot of tiny ball. He watches the side, then he would try to pass it to Neto. Neto would lose the ball. He'd watch, back, pass it back, and then they would go back, hey, and
Hmm.
try their plan one. So
Yeah.
I think what we realized after the 20-minute mark, well, what Palace realized is that okay, guys, on the right hand side, they are they're matching up really well to us. They have really amazing combination play. They're using Gusto as an inverted fullback. Caicedo is making the CBs wide, so they're getting a ball playing base to get balls in behind this and that. But when
Mm,
they try to switch play, they ain't doing nothing with it. They ain't
mm.
doing nothing with it because they have limited players on this side. So
Yeah.
what we're
Yeah.
gonna do is that we're gonna feel a little bit more comfortable getting our wide CB here, doubling up here a little bit, be a little more comfortable stifling them, getting less spaces here. What we're gonna
Mm,
do, guys, we're gonna keep a little bit narrow here. So we already know that Enzo is trying to push forward as it gets more crowded. Fofana, Caicedo is the lonely guy here, Colwell. We're going to keep
mm,
narrow, crowd it up. So when we win the ball here, we could try to counter attack and make
mm.
counters in
So,
behind.
so what you're saying is they've sort of taken the stance that Chelsea's not that great on the left side.
Yes,
We'll just allow that, and we'll
exactly.
concentrate on that. We'll stifle the right side and see if we can
Exactly.
start like counters from
Yeah.
that side.
So in a kind of way, we're saying, okay, you want to, we're not going to press you too much on this side. We're going to let you feel like you could attack here. And once you put it into here, we're going to stifle you guys because we have full confidence that even if you try to switch play, nothing going to happen here on this
Mm,
side.
mm, mm.
And that is exactly what happened. And they started winning the ball more here. It started get less okay. And players start roaming out of position more, less structure, less confidence in the tactics. And that's why I said when your tactics work in that first 25 minutes, you have to kill because
Yeah.
eventually they'll find you out. But I want to go on to something, Gomez.
Go on.
Um, I want to tell you a huge problem, huge problem. I believe, and let's just make this normal as it was in the first half an hour of the game, right?
Hmm.
Let's just get back a normal back five here, right? So, what I don't like, Miss,
Mm,
is that I believe Chelsea is way too limited in the way they try to attack. And I believe is that Enzo Maresca's system does not set up good to prevent transition of play, right?
mm, mm.
Because if you have Caicedo here and you have Enzo up here and you have three attackers here, right? And this guy
Gaping
is a
hole in
ball player.
midfield, like gaping hole.
Exactly. And Kukurea is kind of waiting for the switch of play here
Correct.
because it's
Correct.
wide. What you see in here is that these guys saying, okay, we have to be super careful in how we progress play because if we lose the ball, we will die, right?
Mm,
So I
mm,
think there's so much opportunity within this kind of overload here to try to give amazing football. Like, for example, the use of the long ball in behind. We could try that so much. I feel like we have so much opportunity, especially with Jackson, especially with Maweke, to try to get in behind. I think that we count too much on Enzo as the long ball player
mm,
when
mm.
everybody in our backline should try to put it in behind and make the opposition think. Because if you keep on playing it in behind, all of a sudden they'll stretch the back line and we'll get more space, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing is that we have no confidence to play it in between the lines. If you watch it here, we kind of have a central overload here. You can see that
Yeah.
little shape I'm trying to make with this mouse,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't have enough confidence to say, okay, I'm going to try to play it straight to Enzo's feet. I'm going to try to play it in between here and behind. Because we know that if we lose it here, these three players gonna run rampant into
Yeah.
us, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be horrible for us in transition. So I think that I was gonna end on this thought here, so you could probably give me your thoughts on this. But I
Mm,
want to say that our attack is not only limited with our attacking tactics, but just because our defensive and man marking tactics on the transition is so limited, it makes our attack limited because we can't take enough chances with our verticality in play. And
mm.
also, and that just goes to show the reason why Enzo has to go up here and this and that is because we have a lack of confidence in what these attacking players could do on their own. So
That's a very, very interesting take, man. Because you're right. The way you've just painted that picture, especially this particular setup right here, it was so obvious when we were watching as well in the second half, especially, and also the latter half of the first half, maybe, but specifically in the second half. Just like every other time, Enzo was a lot more further up. And yeah, whenever the ball was mistimed, when a pass was mistimed, the amount of times it felt like there was no one in midfield. And now it's clear to
Yep.
see why there is no one in midfield, because
Mm.
Palace, knew that this is what Chelsea's trying to do, and we're going to have our players, their attacking players, in and around the midfield. I think someone in social media, I don't know if you saw this, Ryan. You know how they create that donut in midfield and there's literally no Chelsea player?
Yeah.
And they did that for Maresca as well in the second half. And it's interesting that the reason why this is happening, and you're saying, is that we're not confident of the players. So let's break this down. Let's take it even deeper. Who are those players in and around that right side? So you got Wesley Fofana on the ball. I think it's safe to say, Ryan, he isn't the most gifted when it comes on the ball. That game against Crystal Palace as well, I've seen him a couple of times where he just passed it all the way to the outline, like it was out for a throw in.
Yeah.
Um, and he definitely doesn't have that ability to switch the play from one side to another. And he
Yeah.
definitely doesn't have that confidence to find that pass from that, where you've got the ball right now, to that DM to Enzo. He doesn't. He takes the easy route. Um,
Yeah.
Madueke, the RM. Madueke, I've never seen Madueke, especially when it's a static backline of the opposition or it's a set deep block. I never see this guy with boom, quick passes. He slows things
Yeah.
down and he's very casual in passing it back. Like, he's very, very casual. He'll go back. He's not taking a riskier pass.
Yeah.
Now we'll get
So
to whether that's him doing it or he's been instructed. We'll get to that. So we've already talked about Wesley Fofana, Madueke. Who else can we talk about in this whole setup? Um, the right back, Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto is someone I think who is capable, but once again, I have seen Malo Gusto make those riskier passes. So Malo Gusto is someone that maybe we can say perhaps he's okay.
I think,
Um,
Miss, what
Go
it
on.
comes down to, man, is like a lot of people make fun of that donut, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of funny to see the extent, the extremity, because I think that Enzo naturally should be a bit more tactically sound there. I don't know if Enzo is naturally have the tactical brain to be that DM, because I just felt I don't think that Maresca's tactical input is to always have him around here. I think as a midfielder, you need to be here sometimes. But I do understand that donut where it does make it very interesting um, to kind of capitalize on that by having really good rotation to get in the pockets to create, like to get passes. I
Mm.
think that little space, that donut, it gives you space to drop in and become that free man. You kind of catch the markers off guard, and
Right,
you
right,
need to
right.
have the confidence that whoever drops in here, and it needs to be intense rotation. Like if you watch Barcelona, you would see Rafinha dropping into here, you'd see Olmo dropping into there. Those are attacking players, but they constantly dropping as like in DM positions, and they're making
Mm-hmm.
use of that rotation. But the difference between Barca and us is that their centre backs are fantastic passes, and they will find that pass here, and then they will combine,
Yes.
and then they'll hit it long. I think that for us now, there's so much work, and that's why I tell you it's 6 out of 10. Is I watch our tactical setup, and I was like, "Where's the principles, man? Where's the
Mm-hmm.
principles?" Because the whole idea of rotating, well, not rotating, sorry, of recycling play in the back line, the whole idea, we created a back three here, is that so we could attract the press.
Yes.
Once the press is attracted,
You got to
somebody needs
find
to
those
drop in.
passes. You got to
Somebody
find those
needs
passes.
to
Yeah.
drop in, right? So you
Yeah.
see someone drops in,
Cole
right?
Palmer. Let's say Cole Palmer
Right.
drops in.
Cole Palmer. Now all of a sudden, Cole Palmer drops in. You have 2v1 with Gusto and Madueke here, right? With
Mm-hmm.
Jackson holding down a CB. You get that to Enzo, you get it in behind there on wide areas. All of a sudden, now you need to see your attacking players drowning into attack and you get it in behind. That is one principle of play there. Second principle of play is that you're using a wide overload, man. You need to have an ease in the switch of play. So how are we going to switch play now? We need Jackson to get more wide now. We're going to stretch his back three here. We're going to stretch the back three to the point it becomes a back four. And
Mm.
sorry, we're going to stretch it back five till it becomes a back four. All of a sudden, you make yourself available for the switch of play. So now we have a wide overload. We should always, the best thing you could do to a defense is put them in a predicament. That whatever choice they pick is pick your poison, you're going to die anyway. So if
Mm-hmm.
you picked a mark here, we would either try to play through you or we're going to kill you on the switch. And we're going to get it to a 1v1 player who's going to kill you on the switch. And we're going to hit you on that space and get to your final third. But they had so much confidence that it was more like Chelsea saying pick one poison and the other option, you could actually beat us in the other option. So we don't have principles of play. We don't have principles of recycling in the back, attracting press, getting into the pockets. We don't have the switch of play. We don't have stretching the opposition's back line to get in behind with long balls. When we
Mm.
do get our players in wide positions, it's kind of one-dimensional because when we finally get into wide positions, our final ball is horrible. I
Horrible.
would
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing here before you jump in, Miss. I
Yeah.
would say our front, whoever is in the box, Miss,
Yeah.
their movement in the box is horrible. I saw many times it had Enzo Fernandez in the box and this and that.
Yeah.
Your guy here, Gusto, is going to cross it in for you, right?
Mm.
Why on earth all of you are here for on the
Yeah.
CBs in a
Should be on the
line?
edge. Should be on the
On
edge.
a line
Yeah.
hiding behind the CBs here, where it's going to get intercepted. And even if it doesn't, you guys don't have the facilities to head that, right?
Yeah.
You don't,
Yeah. You don't.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why isn't the movement better? The movement to become the free man here,
Yeah.
even if
Get
it's
get
not
those get those midfielders to draw into the defenders and get the striker to pull out so he's
yeah.
open. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I just feel like our movement in the box is so bad. When
Mm. Mm.
a lot of people say Gusto has bad crosses, I would say that I think
He's left
Gusto is
with
just
no
trying to,
choice. He's
yeah,
left with no
he's
choice.
trying to cross the people in bad positions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Miss, there's so much to do here, man. I think Enzo Maresca, I think he has some good tactical, like, I think Enzo is that kind of guy that is a nerd about tactics so much that he's trying to get to 10 out of 10 without doing step one, two, three, four, five.
Mm.
The
Mm.
simple principles in play of recycling play, switching play, getting to the pockets, long balls, this and that, it isn't happening.
Can
And
I give you a perfect example? I don't know if you recall because you recently just watched the match in the last 24 hours, so you might be able to recall. In the second half, that same scenario Crystal Palace created after it was
yeah,
1-1, and their winger, I think it was Munoz, who cut it back into the center of the box,
yeah,
and might have been Eze or might have been someone else who was so finely placed. Like all of their runners rushed into the box and took care of our
mhm,
CBs. And then the one player sort of dragged back for
yeah,
Palace, and the cross came straight to that guy. But I
yeah,
think the shot from that guy ricocheted off one of our defenders and went. Or I think was it was it Sanchez that saved that? He made a really good save. The shot went straight to him. So you're right. Like it seems like our principles in attack, you're right. Like it should be where the movement will create the space for one of our attacker to then have an open shot in goals. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And there's not urgency. Like when that space is created, I would see like today, tactically, okay, the spaces is creating. Why isn't there urgency from our back players to play it in the pocket? And I kind of feel that these guys who are coming into this donut hole here and trying to become that free man, I think Loki, they don't want to receive the ball there. I sense a kind
Mm.
of fear amongst these guys. Like, okay, we tactically doing what you want us to do, but I'm not quite sure
But
if
we're
I
not
actually,
confident about it. Do you
I
think the
don't understand.
reason? Do you think they're not confident because they're worried that they lose the ball there, it could be fatal?
For sure, for sure. If you lose the ball here, our centre back is Caicedo. Yeah. So it is
the
horrible one.
the other thing that I wanted to talk to about, it's very interesting that we've sort of dissected exactly what transpired and how Palace sort of went about it, and then what we didn't do ultimately. The other thing that I want to ask you, and a lot of people want to talk about this as well. I want to hear what your thoughts are about this. The whole idea of Caicedo sort of splitting the defense, staying deep, and then everyone else is further up to creating that donut and allowing for one of our players to come into that donut and then pick up the ball. But when it doesn't go right, players like Enzo, who are not a physical specimen in midfield, it does make them look very, very undesirable in midfield. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it exposes their game so massively. And I feel like in the second half, there were so many times where it was a basketball game, really. And I think a lot of was to do with this, where there was a donut and one way or another, we mistimed a pass and people just ran straight through Enzo Fernandez. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And directly into our defense, where our defense was literally in a line like this. All of their attackers running, and our defense is in a line like this. How, how do you propose going forward? Enzo Maresca does that better. I mean, surely we're not there to expose Enzo Fernandez like that, or Enzo Fernandez just won't fit. Like, does it need someone like a Romeo Lavia to be in midfield to cover for all of that crazy transitions that we see?
I think it has to do, I think what we could do, and you could probably take off the tactical board if you want now.
Mm-mm. Cool.
So I think what we could do is that we need to have confidence first in our backline and what they want to do,
Yeah.
right? Because the whole point of a register is to open passing angles for your center backs and your ball players and your DM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, you want to get your numerical advantage and attract the press, but you want to create that passing base with those angles in order to launch passes into the pockets and in behind. The thing is with Chelsea right now, Colwell could do it on the left, but it doesn't matter because Kukurea and those guys would give it away.
Right.
Fofana, as we said, we established that he's just not that kind of player. He's
Mm-hmm.
comfortable on the ball, but he isn't a creator from the
He's
back.
not. He's not a creator. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Caicedo is very good at it, but I'm kind of begging the question, why would you implement him between in that position for?
And not in
Why?
between the
Yeah,
RCB
yeah,
and the right back.
yeah. Wouldn't it be safer to have Caicedo as that like right back ball player and for Fana in the center to do the transition, like protect the transitions, rather than with what we saw today or
And I
yesterday?
think Caicedo would be better in switching the ball from
Yeah,
being in the right as opposed to being in the middle.
exactly. So I think that's one thing you could do is to really see what it is you want. But
Mm.
also, I think Ms. Fofana and these guys have ball playing ability. It's from the coach to implement that we want you to try this, and if we die, we live and die by the sword.
Mm.
But just because we're gonna live and die by the sword, that doesn't mean we're gonna give our life easily. I'm gonna
Yeah.
prepare this team where I'm going to give you the safety to play those passes because we're going to have a kind of system that I analyze the opposition's midfield.
Mm.
Oppositions could only hurt you in transition through central overloads, really.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why Mourinho would keep his midfield narrow and attack narrow to counter attack. We're
Yeah.
gonna say, okay, first thing we're gonna do, boys, is that we're gonna always try to man mark the opposition's midfield and attack in transitions. So when we let go those long passes and passes in the pockets,
Mm.
those Crystal Palace attackers, it's already man marked from my defenders or
Yeah.
from my DM and defenders, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the safety now that no matter what, those transition players are man marked and we're going to tackle them and get them. I don't care
Mm.
if we get yellow cards or this and that, we're going to stop the transition, right?
Yeah.
So then and there's no hole in midfield. A second thing we have to do now is give the that with that confidence now, you need to give them intent that this has to happen.
Yeah.
We have to stretch the
Yeah.
opposition's backline. We need runs in behind. We need heavy rotation of play into the pockets. And we need you all to have the confidence to play those balls into the pockets to
Yeah,
further it out.
almost as if to say as well, Ryan, that if you don't do that, I need to look for another player that's going to execute that, because it's going to stifle. It's going to stifle us all throughout the field.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think Miz, I just don't like what I'm seeing from
Mm.
Maresca.
Mm.
I just feel like there's good. He's a tactical manager, right?
Yeah.
Like you could see he wants to be innovative with his approaches to games, and
Mm.
and that's something you could say that's better than Poch, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could see that okay, this guy has an idea of what he wants, but a lot of people mistakes tactics like tactical structure for philosophy. I see it
Mm.
as two different things. I think tactical structure is obviously the structure of the players and the setup. And I
Yeah.
believe philosophy is how they work within that structure.
Mm.
And
Mm.
for me is I don't see a philosophy of bravery, of urgency. I feel like it always feels as if Chelsea think this match is 320 minutes instead of 90 minutes. It's like it doesn't matter if a space opens up.
Unlimited time.
Yeah, I'm going to pass back. I'm going to pass this side.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a big thing is, though, I'll say it over and over again. I just think we don't have the building blocks to what Maresca is trying to do.
Mm.
I'm not
Do,
seeing the basics.
do you know what the crazy thing is? And I don't want to. I hate comparing us to a team that is so well organized. Like, for example, Liverpool under Arne Slot. He's just arrived, and once again, Liverpool look so damn good. But it's crazy. I get it. Liverpool got a lot of players that have been there for a long time. They've got an established structure that was doing really well under Klopp. But still, new manager has come in and he's tweaked it. He has, like, this Liverpool is not the gun ho of Klopp where they just go 100 miles an hour, press, and high rock and roll kind of football. This is a lot more control based Liverpool now, where they know exactly when to press, they know exactly when to hold back, they know exactly when to invite a bit of pressure so that they can get the opposition in transition. This Liverpool under Arne Slot in the early days seem a lot smarter, which was crazy to think that, how can you go from the way Klopp was playing to be even more smarter? And it's crazy how you've just mentioned that Maresca's also come in, and we've got a lot of talented players, but we can't seem to we can't seem to show our football quick enough. Whereas someone like Arne Slot's come in and, he's executing his football. Yeah, it's one to look out for, man. It's definitely one to look out for to see what happens after the international break. We've got a whole heap of matches coming up. Let's talk about this. Let's now transition into the second part, and we'll slowly wrap things up on this point. Are you concerned at all now that we've arrived in our first international break? So far, what you've seen: Man City, Servette, Wolves, Servette again, Crystal Palace. with all the plethora of players that we've brought in, the plethora of players that have left as well, with the fixtures that are coming up after the international break, are you are there any areas where you're a little bit concerned, or are there areas where you're really positive? Like, where are you in terms of this is where Chelsea's at the moment?
Hmm. I think we sadly, I think that's a good question. One, I think where Chelsea is that we kind of we have a new manager who is fairly new to coaching,
Mm,
and I think these players, they need so much more than what Maresca could give them at this point of Maresca's career. Because
right.
a lot of people said, oh, there's this trend of young managers. But show me a project where there's a young manager
Mm.
and young players, and it works.
None. I'll tell you right
I
now.
think
None.
you talk about Slot,
Mm.
Liverpool's manager, right?
Yeah.
He comes in, but he doesn't have to teach why it is you recycle play from the back. He doesn't have to teach
Mm.
that when there's a pocket that opens that you
Got
pass to the
established
back.
players. It's got established players.
He has players who've won trophies.
Yeah.
They've won something. They have played Champions League. How
Yeah.
much of our players have played a Champions League match?
Reece James, who's always injured. Enzo Fernandez.
Exactly.
Jaf Felix. Has Caicedo played Champions League? No. No, he hasn't, obviously. He was Brighton.
Exactly.
Levi Colwell hasn't played Champions League. Tosin, Buddy Shield. Wesley Fofana, has he played Champions League? Oh, yeah, before he got injured, but it's very limited. Very few. Bottom line, very few. Yeah,
And it's one thing to appear in a Champions League match, but the next thing to actually play within the Champions League tournament
correct.
and win
Correct.
and this and that.
Yeah.
I think our players here, they need so much more. They need to learn.
Mm,
And I said this, I'm not gonna say it over too much again, but these guys are learning how to become adults, learning how to the psyche of the game, psyche of a professional footballer, this and that. But not only that, they need to learn how to play this game
yeah.
and the principles of winning matches and the
Mm,
principles of preparing for matches and the principles of thinking on the fly when things go wrong in matches, the principles of Miss, it is not a coincidence that the first 10 minutes will be strongest. Second 10 minutes we get a little less strong, to the point that we get bad after the second half.
correct.
And that is the effects of young players. Young players who does not have guidance would experience people in the structure to say, okay, listen, this is how we're going to approach these hard times after we miss a couple of chances. By the time Crystal Palace get one clear chance against us or a goal against us,
Yeah.
our boys start to lose their head.
Yeah.
They lose all the tactics that was talked about before the first minute. This and that. They lose the principles of football. I think Maresca here, he's doing a job that is required for about 10 people in one. I
Do you know
think
what? Do you know what, Ryan? This is such a good point, man. I don't know. And to the live chat, I would love to see what you guys have to say about this. And please comment as well in this particular uh, thing that I'm going to talk about. What Ryan just mentioned, like these kids are learning how to be adults. Let me give you an example. I see our players, like, for example, Nicholas Jackson. He scores a goal and he's more interested as to what type of celebration he's going to do. He goes out and he does that celebration. Like, he's more interested about the glitz and glam outside. He's more interested to talk back chat on Johnny B. Mikel as opposed to let me concentrate on becoming a top footballer. I've not achieved anything. Let me concentrate on doing that. Let me hear what John Obi Mikel's saying, and let me just take that in. Let me not just get too carried away. People already know how I feel about certain times when Medveke does these sort of things. And then you look at a much more experienced team like your City or your Liverpool or even Arsenal these days, right? Under Arteta, they're getting experience. And I kid you not, I don't see their players getting carried away when they score goals. It's just business as usual. Let's go back, let's score another one. Let's go back, let's score another one. I'm not saying don't celebrate. See, this is where I need people to understand. I'm not saying don't celebrate. And I know all those other players on those teams, they celebrated as well. They celebrate as well. But what I'm saying is, I think our players, their mind is not completely in the game all the time. I think their mind is sometimes I'll score a goal. Beautiful. Job done. I've done my thing. I've scored a goal. I'm going to go out there, show the
And
whole social world that I've scored goals. That's it.
our team seems like a team of schoolboys, and not in their ability, in their mentality. I would hate to be in a bus with these guys. I would hate to
Well,
be in a
well,
bus
we
with
know
these
what
guys.
Enzo Fernandez is up to when he's
Oh
in the
no
bus.
no 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 good no talk about yeah
You
good one
walked into that one,
yeah.
bro.
No, but I'm telling you, like, I would hate to. These is like whiny young adult teenager type vibes they get, like college students.
Mm.
It's so crazy that the club that you look up to and you love, it used to have leaders, people who inspired you. You'd put them as your wallpaper. Like imagine you put like a Lampard wallpaper because it teaches you discipline to wake up in the morning and work out. I'm not gonna put a Jackson wallpaper and say, bro, I'm gonna wake up 5 a.m. in the morning with my Enzo and Jackson poster, and we're
Yeah.
gonna work out at 5 a.m. because they inspire me to become the best person I could be. I more think about like these guys seems like little college kids who vape. Like that's kind of
Bro, have you literally seen Mudrik post that game against Palace? More Instagram stories than anything. But the amount of Instagram stories this guy has dropped after the Palace game, Michaela Mudrik. And I'm like, dude, just where is the mindset to be a better footballer? You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
I know what I think. This is what I have, and it has to go back. Listen, I could understand you want to play FIFA manager and get a type of squad here, whatever. But who on earth wins the Champions League and sells all the starting 11 players from that Champions League?
it's pretty mad.
That is crazy.
Yeah, the change
You s- you
so
s-
drastic.
you sell Jorginho, okay, it's a change of guard, right? But why sell Kovacic, a Champions League winner, this and that? You sell your whole defensive line. You sell
Literally.
all. You sell everything that made. I know they could have used a transition
I was
that
just
could
gonna
have
say that.
actually.
Yeah.
They could have used a transition, man.
They could have sold in layers, maybe. Okay, you
Yeah,
sold Jorginho. I don't sell Kovacic. Not yet. Not yet. I need Kovacic's guidance in midfield to
be
help.
captain. Should have be captain or
Be
something.
captain. You guide Enzo Fernandez. You guide Caicedo. All right? Until they become and they understand what it takes to play for Chelsea Football Club. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they know the behaviorism, right? Then you still keep Rudiger. You teach these young kids how to be a defender and what it means to be a Chelsea defender. Then the season after, okay, Caicedo and Enzo and Romeo Lavia, they're ready. They're ready. They get it. They understand, right? They get what it takes to be Chelsea Football Club. You let maybe Kovacic go. You allow one of these brothers to take over the mantle, but you still keep Rudiger, right? You don't get rid of everyone. You still keep Rudiger. And then the following season, when Rudiger's let his experience seep into the likes of Colwell, the likes of Wesley Fofana, the likes of Badisha, and so on and so forth, right? They understand. what it means to play and be a defender at Chelsea, then you let Rudy go. So by then, you've already had, a nice staggered transition, and you've allowed for experience to be passed on. No, instead we scrapped it all out, brought in a whole new players, and as you said, these players are just learning to be adults. And on top of that, you've got a manager that is in his baby stages of his managerial situation, who's also learning to be an adult in this managerial, you know, sphere. Basically, it's it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a hella long time, to the point where I'm like, I get worried. Right, this is what I'm going to end it with, and I'll allow you to say what you want to say on this as well, and if you want to add stuff as well. I get worried that, Ryan, we may eventually get there, but players like Cole Palmer specifically, I look at Cole Palmer different to any other one of these youngsters that we have, because he's so different. He acts like an adult. He might be 21, 22 or whatever, but you can see this guy's attitude. This guy's not Mickey Mousing around. He's serious, right? And he hurts when we drop points. You could see he was not happy. He's disappointed
Yeah,
that
after
we
that
dropped
match, yeah.
points. He was so disappointed. But for every other Chelsea player, life goes on. No problems. We'll move on. He hurts, right? This kid, if we don't get into something substantial this season at least, like winning the Conference League, which is not going to be easy. Like, there are some teams, one or two teams, that are going to pose a big test for us, even in the Conference League, because of where our level is. If we don't win the Conference League, we don't go and try and win one of the domestic cups as well, and at least put a solid effort to get into Champions League. I still think, look, we need Champions League. It's paramount, but I feel like we're going to finish 5th or 6th. But if we don't get these sort of achievements, and you continue like this, I'm telling you, players like Cole Palmer are too good to stick around and go, yeah, I'm loyal to Chelsea, I'm just going to stick around. Like, these guys want to do something in their
Things
life.
with the career, yeah.
Yeah, like it's too. There'll come a point where he'll be like, I need to achieve stuff. Like, I can't be Cole Palmer into my mid-20s and I've achieved nothing.
Exactly.
Like, as a team, basically. I know a lot of people say about Mamiz. He's already achieved everything at Man City. Like, he's won the treble over there. I get that, but he'll probably feel within himself that I wasn't a huge contributor to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want
Yeah.
to be a part of a team that wins leagues, and I was the biggest contributor to that. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
I'm worried about this. Is that how you kind of feel as well?
I feel the exact same. He's one of them that I worry about. And I think I worry about the future too, because I think that a lot of people was vexed with Osimhen for not
Mm,
coming. But why would he?
mm,
We are Conference League team. He's one of the best top 10 strikers in the world. We're giving
yeah.
him a lower salary.
Mm,
Our team is in a horrendous rebuild. We're not going to be competing for any titles soon.
mm.
Why would you take a pay cut to come to this for?
That's
After
also
being top
true.
10 striker.
That's
And
also
sometimes
true.
as Chelsea fans, check ourselves that we are not the Chelsea that we were like 3, 4 years ago. We are a different Chelsea now.
By the way, did you see what Maresca said post match?
Yeah, I
Similar to
did
that.
see that. I did see that.
What would you
That
make
that
of that? Like,
it's
I don't know.
normal not
What?
to win games.
Yeah. Like, what does he mean by that? I
See,
didn't really understand
I
what he was trying to
I
say. How do you
saw the
interpret that?
quote. I saw the quote, but say I think it's one of the ones that you need to see a video of it or hear it because
Okay.
it's a weird one to say. But it's the truth though. It's the truth.
Yeah. Like, I mean, is he just simply stating the fact that it's very normal for Chelsea not to win games now? Like, it's very normal.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the one that won the Champions League. It's very normal not to win. Like, what are you implying here, brother?
It came from that when Potter came in, he said that Chelsea is a club that wins titles. Pochettino, a club that wins titles. The Maresca is normal not to win games. That is the ownership in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That is the ownership. And no, but I'll tell you this. You talk about Cole Palmer wanting to leave. I
Mm.
think about our whole model is bringing young, like promising players, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me tell you, the only young promising players we're gonna get to actually want to come Chelsea now is people who's like 16 years old or 15 years old.
And that's what we're doing, right?
Because let me tell you, Felix was someone that nobody else in Europe wanted, really, except Aston Villa. The only
Yeah.
person who wanted Felix other than Aston Villa was me to come for Felix to come at Chelsea, right? Because
And
I love
Ibsy,
Felix.
and Ibsy.
And yeah, and it's Z, right? But just think about this, right? I'll close down here, right? Your players under 25 who come at Chelsea
Yeah,
are deemed to have high potential, like Enzo, for etc., etc.
yeah.
They come Chelsea and become worse because they
Mm.
have lack of guidance. They come here and the development halts because one, the manager can't
I'd
develop
even
them.
put Caicedo, by the way, just to
Yeah,
interject. Like,
Caicedo. I think that they don't have the teammates to help them develop, and they don't have the manager to help them develop. If I was top performer in my company, and my company is one of the top 10 companies in the world, and then
mm,
your company want me, and your manager is 30 years old with blonde streaks in his hair and a faux
mm,
right? The team members within that team is young guys coming out of university. And I'm
mm.
here working for Apple with the best engineers in the world, with the best manager in the world, and the best company in the world. Why the hell would I want to come by you?
Hmm.
And
Exactly,
that's
bro.
exactly what it is now. Why Osimhen probably see this as a win. He gonna go to Turkey, um, play Champions League football. A team is gonna come and super him next
And
season.
his wages are getting covered. Like he's not reducing his wages. Whatever he was on Napoli in on this loan, Galatasaray is covering it.
Yeah, Galatasaray is a step up than Chelsea. I don't know why all fans are laughing for. Th- All
We
fans
would
need to
probably
watch stuff in the
struggle, right?
mirror.
Like, it would be a struggle game against Galatasaray now. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's a Champions League team.
Yeah.
We're a Conference League team, and we just lost a Conference game. Miss,
Yeah, true.
we are in an awful state. And I tell you, man, all these attackers we have, they all can't play at the same time. So it's going to be in a position where Felix is going to start regressing because he isn't starting. Sancho is going
Bro,
to get.
just quickly, Ryan. This is an actual problem. I don't know if you saw the subs against Crystal Palace. A lot of people are saying, Miz, when Reece James is fully fit, Sancho with ball, and Romeo Lavia is back, someone's not gonna play. Like someone, forget about not gonna play. Someone's not gonna be in the squad.
Yeah, Miss, you're so funny, bro. You just said the words when Romeo Lavia is back. Newsflash. This brother ain't come back this season, bro. What do you mean
Uh,
when Romeo Lavia is back, bro?
it's,
Bro, what injury does he have? Do you know?
I don't know the latest one. Apparently, they just said it's a niggly injury. Like,
It's the same one from the same niggle from last season, eh?
but where's this nigga happening, bro?
Yo, I want to know somewhere that we don't know because, bro, this is the same exact thing they told us last September, and he didn't appear for the rest of the season.
And then we never saw. we
Bro,
never,
maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe we just hallucinate. Maybe there was never a Romeo Lavia.
do you know how mad this is,
It
Ryan?
was
That
always Bakayoko. He's still
he's
here.
already missed. He's already missed Wolves, Servette,
He missed
Palace.
3 games. Yeah, out of five?
Six.
4. He played 1 game.
He played Servette home leg.
He played Seville home leg. You sure?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. He came
I
on.
think
He
I
came
thought
on.
he only played Man City.
He played Man City and he came on, I think, second half against Servette.
Okay.
So 1.5 games, well, you can't even say half Servette. I think he came on like 70th minute or something like that. 1 game and a bit out of 5.
Tony Roder, he come back. He said it was just load management and he's come back in next game. Well, what kind of load is he talking about now?
But yeah,
No.
bro. it's going back to the point that you were saying that it's you're going to say a particular point when we were saying attackers, like you're not going to be,
Yeah,
they're
they're
going to
all not
stagnate.
gonna play at the same time. So
Mm.
eventually, these star ballers we have, they're gonna lose confidence. Eventually, Nkunku is gonna come in with no confidence. Eventually, Sancho is gonna come in after 4 games with no confidence. Now we just have a bunch of people here that just regressing.
Mm.
I'm telling you, Chelsea is a place you come if you want to fall back. Before you could come to Chelsea and at least get money. But now you come to Chelsea, don't even get money. You just come here for what?
But it's such a good point. Like Enzo Fernandez, for example, he's regressed. I think it's
He's
safe to
regressed.
say.
He was on top of the world, could have gone Real Madrid.
Benfica, Enzo Fernandez was a baller.
He could have replaced Cruz in Real Madrid.
100, and we would have seen how brilliant Enzo Fernandez would have been at La Liga. Caicedo, can we say Caicedo has improved since he left Brighton?
No,
No, it's not the same Caicedo, man. He's so
not
erratic. He lunges into tackles. He's looking very ordinary at times.
I'm telling
Levi
you.
Colwell, since he's been back from the
Not
loan
the
from
same as
Brighton,
Brighton.
not the same. Wesley Fofana, okay, albeit injury, but he's not at that level. Reece James in the preseason, I get it,
And
injuries again.
Kunku.
And Kunku is right in front of our eyes. Ryan, we are seeing this guy diminish right
Yep.
in front of our eyes.
This guy scored so much goals for Leipzig. So much.
And literally everyone is against Nkunku now in the fan base. Mudryk, well, we've never even seen any good from him, and
And tell you,
he's
Chelsea is riding on the history that Roman built. Because these players will come and they hear Chelsea and they'll think maybe we'll get back to where we were under Roman. But let me tell you, you are going to come Chelsea and there's nothing set in place to improve your footballing career. There is no teammates, there's no manager, there's no coaches, there's no owners who's going to drive your career. Telling you that there's no player who's going to come in here unless you're an outlier like Cole Palmer.
like something.
And let me tell you, if
Yeah.
Cole Palmer has to keep on dropping into CDM positions to collect the ball,
But
he's
he's
going
gonna
to start
say,
get he's,
see you later, bye bye.
no, and he's going to get less assists because it should point out last season Cole Palmer was like this unknown like ability, like we didn't know he was going to be the star boy he's going to be, right? So he could have played more in and around the box, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Now, since he's the star guy, he has to play that Hazard role now, right? So
Yeah.
he needs to drop into midfield, collect the ball, do magic, and head it up. But naturally, now with so much added responsibility, he might not get into the same positions in the edge and in around the box that he used to get in
Yeah.
because he has so much more responsibility deeper in the pitch now. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's you come and you fall into that hole. So eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Palmer has less goal contributions this season due
A
to
lot of
how
people
much responsibility he has to take.
a lot of people have already said that there's no way he's gonna be able to replicate what he did last season, this season. But look, we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell. I personally, what he did last season was mad anyway. So it'll be crazy to think that's what he's going to replicate. But so far already, I know it's a bit inflated. 1 game, 3 assists. He got an assist against Palace as well, and a goal against Wolves. I still think his quality is so immense. He will make numbers, but it almost begs to sort of say that what could he have done in a much more balanced team with experienced players around him? What could he do then? Do you know what I mean? As opposed to this experimental stuff that Chelsea's doing. And yeah, it's a big headache, man. After the international break, Maresca somehow will
Okay,
have to fit
I'm asking
everyone.
this. Caicedo, if he gets an injury, then Fofana gets an injury, then Cole Palmer gets an injury. Where do Chelsea come?
We're dead. Cole Palmer gets an injury, touch wood. We're dead. We're
Yeah, but
dead, bro.
no, but then Caicedo and then Enzo's DM with Drewsbury Hall, and then the defender we need to bring in back those guys from the
We're
bench.
finished. We're finished.
Telling you,
We're
we
finished.
or even if Kukurea gets injured, what's gonna happen? He's like our only top left back.
Yeah.
I telling you, our this is our best squad here on paper we're
Yeah.
seeing,
Yep. That
and
that
we're
lineup,
performing.
that lineup against Palace, Ryan, I was actually quite like I was like, wow, that's our best lineup.
Our best lineup is struggling so much. Imagine if there's not if when there's injuries,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
And
gonna
and
come.
and and, and, and it's gonna happen, right? It's inevitable.
Yeah,
Injuries are
and we
inevitable.
we we're in Europe this season too.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of fixtures, a lot of international breaks with international players. There's bound to be some injuries and knocks. Tanya Mills, bro.
But there already is. Romeo Love has already missed 3.5 games, like 3 games, sorry. Like there already is injuries. And I think Malagusto pulled his hamstring at the end of that game against.
Eh?
Yeah, did you not see there was a moment where he got subbed off and then he was holding on to his hamstring? So I don't know whether
Hmm.
how serious it is. So he's already pulled his hamstring, maybe not that serious, but I don't know whether he's going to feature straight after the international break. But luckily we got Reece James, but who's also got you know history of injuries as well. So um, let's see what happens after the international break. There's a lot of interesting matches, man. A lot of interesting matches, and um, I don't think any match is easy in the Premier League. Everyone is quite equipped to beat anyone on their day. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Final thoughts, Ryan?
Final thoughts is that remember the truth is always in between. Last podcast we were happy over the moon. We're talking about we could fight for top five. I mean top four. This podcast it seems that it's doom and gloom. Truth is also always in the middle somewhere. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think we'll just have to wait and see.
I think, and I get this thrown at me a lot. Oh, man, it's a flip flop. Go back and listen to our podcast, the last one, straight after the Wolves. Many times, both Ryan and I said, they're still shaky though in defense. We are still
Yep.
shaky in midfield. Like, it's not like we've said, oh, it's complete. The puzzle is now complete. No, we appreciated what the attack can do on a given day, but we also highlighted the fact that carry on playing like that with that type of shaky defense and that type of shaky midfield, yeah, you're going to get found out. You're going to get found out. So we did put a
And
stipulation around it. So, and you're right. Like today, we feel like, yeah, maybe it's difficult.
the thing is, it's only going to get worse when teams have more footage to study on us under
Mm,
Maresca.
mm,
I
mm,
just feel like it's so easy for me to just watch the game and just know, okay, you could kill us here. And imagine how
mm.
easy it is for actual managers and coaches to see it.
Do you know what Leicester fans said right at the end of the season? Because do you remember Leicester last season under Enzo Maresca? They were, I think, 15, 16 points clear at one stage. I think it was January.
Yeah,
But as the season ended, they only finished 1 point behind Ipswich, and a
that's the
lot of Leicester
Arteta kind of vibe to it.
a lot of Leicester fans were saying, eventually enough, everyone in the league caught up to what he was doing, and then it was like very difficult to win games after that. Do you know what I mean? So it's a
Yeah,
good point
bro.
that you're saying that. You know, if we're sitting here and we can see where you can hurt us, you think managers that get paid so much are not looking at this. So let's see if we can rectify it, man. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see if we can rectify it. Ryan, thank you so much once again. That's Life Podcast. I think this is another banger, man. I hope everyone
Done.
appreciates it.
Yeah.
Um, what you got on? You got a different you've got a different Twitter account. Do you want to tell a little bit about that to everyone?
Yeah. So I have a creator Twitter called a Tactical Journal.
Mm-hmm.
So basically
Put in the
gonna
description.
yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm analyzing basically all the best matches around Europe, trying to really up my analysis now, using a lot of programs, this and that. So big things coming up, just working really hard on it. So give it a follow, check it out, and I'll always be here to provide tactics for you guys. But remember, always Chelsea fan first. So I'll always be here.
Come on, come on. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll end it here. Thank you so much. Smash up the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Make sure you comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about everything we spoke about. And the next episode, we'll try and have it sometime by the end of this week again. We'll look back at some of the comments and we'll try and see what you guys were saying. So make sure you comment and we'll bring it back into the next episode.
You know what?
where
You know what we should do, bro, miss, before you end it?
Yeah,
That's a good idea for a video. International break. We'll come back in about a week.
yeah.
Leave a bunch of comments you want
Mm.
to ask Miz and I about Chelsea, about any player you want. A
Yeah,
Q&A session, and we'll do a good 45, 50-minute video on all the comments we could get. But
yeah.
before you comment, make sure and like too, and we'll be
Yes.
there to answer
Beautiful.
them.
On that, ladies and gentlemen, take care. See ya. Goodbye.